Okay, we're broadcasting and attendees are coming in.
And Jennifer, you're there, right?
I'm here.
Okay.
Hey, Jen.
Hi, Matt.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Outstanding.
Terry, you think I can start?
I think so.
Okay, this meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, and the Highland Park Planet on July 7th, 2020, and was posted on the Borough website at www.hpboro.com and on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, 221 South Fifth Avenue, Highland Park, New Jersey, on July 7th, 2020, and has remained continuously posted as required by law. As mayor, I preside over this council meeting and may interrupt when or warn or terminate a participant's statement of participation in the virtual meeting if the participant's statement does not adhere to the 3 minutes provided to each participant for public comment, or if the statement is abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. Tara, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United
of the
States of
United States
America,
of America, and to the
the
republic
republic for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty and
liberty,
justice.
justice for all.
We weren't very in sync there.
No. Roll call, please.
Mayor Brill Mittler,
Here.
Councilman Fine,
Here.
Councilwoman Foster-Dublin,
Here.
Councilman George,
Here.
Councilman Hale, Councilman Hale,
Here.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan,
Here.
Borough Attorney Schmier,
Here.
Borough Administrator Jover.
Here.
Okay. This is the 8th virtual council meeting. A recording of the proceedings will be made available via HPTV following the meeting. Resolution 720-215 has been added to the agenda concerning federal police involvement in Portland, Oregon. Councilman Phil George will read the resolution in its entirety. But before we do anything, I have the great honor of swearing in our newest council member, Tara Canavera. May I have a motion to adopt or reject the resolution to appoint the new council member?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster-Dublin,
Yes.
Councilman George,
Tara, welcome. I believe you'll be an asset to the community for which you are going to serve long and hard. It's hard work, but we look forward to it. Yes.
Thank you.
Councilman Hale,
Welcome aboard, Tara. And yes.
Thanks.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan.
Yes.
Okay. Tara, I'm going to administer the oath to you. If you would please stand and raise your right hand. Just repeat after me. I, Tara Canavera,
I, Tara Canavera,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of councilperson
of the office of councilperson
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the government
established
established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority
under the authority
of the people.
of the people.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome officially, Tara.
Thank you very much.
Okay. May I have a motion to adopt or reject the resolution to amend Resolution 12003 regarding standing committees?
Motion.
Also move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster-Dublin,
Yes.
Councilman George,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Yes.
Now, I have I'm sorry?
I don't think I got called.
Oh,
yeah, you did.
Okay.
Councilman Hale,
Yes.
all right. So I have two proclamations here that we have put together in honor of two members of the community who have served for many, many years our public library. And because of COVID and trying to reach families, we did not have a chance to present it to them in public. But I didn't want to hang on to it any longer. And I just want to let everyone know that the borough is honoring the many years of work of Jane Stanley and Fran Lee, who are former director and children's librarian at the Highland Park Library. These proclamations will go directly to these two individuals. And I just want to let everybody who is on the Zoom meeting know how honored we were to have them for so many years serving our community in ways that will live on forever. Borough Clerk, it's not necessary for me to read all the proclamations, is it?
no,
Okay.
no.
Okay. Let's go on to our council reports. I'm going to start with, well, Tara, you're the first on my screen, but I don't think you have a report today.
Not yet.
Okay, so Councilman Hale, do you have a council report?
Just very briefly, I wanted to update everyone on the town tables on South 3rd Avenue. We've recognized that they are looking a little empty, and that we've ordered new tables, we've ordered umbrellas, we've ordered a number of different things to spruce up the area so that South 3rd will be a little bit more hospitable than it is. It's one of the things that we've discovered is that lots of people have been ordering outdoor furniture, and there's been a lot of delays and things like umbrellas coming. But we expect them very shortly, and we've had some usage of the tables as they are on South Third, but we think that with some additional sprucing up, that they're going to be even more useful for folks. So we're expecting that umbrellas and additional tables will be there within the next week or so. Up on North 4th, those tables are going quite well. They're very, very popular, and I just want to remind everybody that all of those tables, both on South 3rd and on North 4th, are open to anybody who's there. It's first come, first serve. You can bring food from any of the restaurants in Highland Park, hopefully, and come and enjoy the outdoors. And when the weather breaks, maybe a little bit. It's been pretty hot lately. But all of those are open for anybody. We do ask and hope that as you're using the tables for dinner, that you do take some responsibility in bussing the tables, cleaning up. There's not a staff there to take stuff. So if you can self-bus your tables, that would be fantastic. There's signs that will be up and are up about the procedures and wearing masks and all of those types of things. So we still have to be very careful of all of that. But I do think that the improvements certainly on North 4th have been going very, very well, and we've recognized that on South 3rd we can do better, and so those are should be coming shortly. The only other thing I'd mention is that we really do need people to shop Highland Park. We have businesses and restaurants that are open, but it is crucial as they start getting open that we make a commitment to going to our Highland Park businesses. It's been a rough time for them, and we need to help them through it. So please go to the businesses, wear your masks. The businesses are not supposed to be cops, but wear your masks and shop Highland Park. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Foster-Dublin, do you have a report?
Just very brief, that the Department of Motor Vehicles, State Department of Motor Vehicles, because of the coronavirus, they have suspended a lot of their services. However, the services, because they're not able to provide full service to everyone, they have extended for anyone who needs to renew licenses and what have you. They've extended the time to September. So you have until September to go get your documents taken care of. There is an extension. You can go to the motor vehicle website and you can take a look at that extension, because a lot of people have been calling our police department, asking them what to do, because obviously it's a major concern. But the motor vehicle has extended the time for people to get licenses and inspections and what have you done. So anyone who's interested or who is in that situation should definitely take a look of what DMV is saying and take it from there. Also, I want to encourage everyone that whenever you go out of your homes, the rules have changed. You must now wear your face mask unless there's a medical reason, but everyone is highly encouraged to wear your face mask. We all have seen the devastation in various states in our nation. We don't want New Jersey to go to revisit what we had in March, April, and May. So let's all make a concerted effort to wear our face masks and to keep this virus away from all of us, so we can go back to some kind of normalcy and in this new normal. Away from that, it's hot out there. Do what you have to do to stay hydrated. We have an opportunity that our cooling centers are now open again. So there's hours in which you can visit the cooling center with social distancing, of course, here in Highland Park. So any questions, please call Department of Community Service and they'll provide you that information as well. With that said, everyone have a happy and safe summer, and safety is the word. Wear your face mask. Thanks.
Thank you, Elsie. Councilwoman Kim Chohan, do you have a report?
I do have just a brief announcement, not like really a report, but I do want to mention, since this is our first meeting that we've had since the death of our Councilwoman Welkovits, and I also want to welcome Tara as well. For you do have some big shoes to fill. And Susie's work will live on in Highland Park for the many years to come. But I wanted to mention, hold on one second, her GoFundMe page that her family had put together for her twins and the family on GoFundMe. It's memorial for Welkovits Brown twins and family. I know so many residents have given, but they do have a goal of $35,000. So if you can just find it in your heart. Susie gave so much time to the borough, and it's not, a lot of people think, the position is a glorified, where, it's not a huge salary, and she just gave a lot to the town. So I just wanted to mention her.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, Councilman Fine, do you have a report?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor. Thank you. The Highland Park Arts Commission has been very busy. The commission recruited 4 new members, bringing its numbers to 9 commission members. It should be noted, though, that high school student representative Jessica Wu will be stepping down in August to go to college. So a student representative position is open, and Highland Park residents of high school age are very much encouraged to complete a volunteer application if they are interested in serving on the commission. The Arts Commission is currently working to recycle and refurbish benches from the Department of Public Works. One bench has been completely refurbished by the Highland Park Artists Collective, and the commission has plans for at least 3 others, including one to honor Highland Park's first African-American council member, Charles Figg. The Arts Commission also plans to apply to Middlesex County again for a second year of the program Race Matters, a spoken word jam. The park partners mural from 2019 will hopefully be going up on the Roberts Florals building in August, pending weather and the artist's ability to travel from Ecuador. And the commission also plans to participate in the virtual Arts in the Park, which is scheduled for September. As Councilmember Kim Chohan mentioned, this is the council's first meeting since the untimely passing of our colleague, Councilwoman Susie Welkovits, and I'd like to say a few words in her memory. Councilwoman Welkovits will certainly be remembered for working to ensure pedestrian safety, promote downtown development and a bicycling plan for our borough, and to protect the environment and public education. But what I will remember most is that throughout her terms on council, she was outspoken against racism and anti-Semitism. In August 2017, the day after the horrific alt-right rally in Charlottesville, as council president, she stood up in front of a crowd of hundreds of people by the Reformed Church of Highland Park and explained that as the daughter of Holocaust survivors, the Nazi disease must be stopped, and we are going to stop it. And she continued, we must come together, no matter what color or religion, to show we are united against hate. Then over the past year, she regularly spoke out against anti-Semitism, whether when she voted in favor of the resolution condemning all forms of anti-Semitism that did not pass in October 2019, or coming to cast her vote in favor of the resolution against all forms of anti-Semitism that ultimately passed on March 3rd of this year. From the dais on that March 3rd night that the resolution condemning all forms of anti-Semitism was finally approved, Councilwoman Welkovits expressed that while she wasn't feeling well She knew she had to be at the meeting because of the importance of the resolution against anti-Semitism that she wanted to see the council pass. She was a true public servant who accomplished so much, who has been taken from us far too early, and the borough will forever be indebted to her for all the good she did for our community. We will miss her, and may her memory be for a blessing. Finally, this past Friday, July 17th, our nation lost an American hero, civil rights icon, John Lewis. His life's work, from his days as a freedom rider, as chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, through his serving as an Atlanta City Council member and as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, was to fight for justice for every human being. He is someone that everyone in our country and the world should learn lessons from. Only about 2 years ago, he tweeted his philosophy on how to bring about change. He tweeted, "Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble." As a Jewish American, I am grateful to Congressman Lewis for being a champion of causes central to the Jewish community, whether it be combating anti-Semitism, demanding freedom for Soviet Jewry, or working for security for Israel. With all the lessons he taught us during his 80 years on this earth, from using nonviolence to make change happen, to demanding equal justice for every human being, I believe that Congressman Lewis will now be able to surely sit in peace, as the scripture says, under his vine and fig tree, and none shall make him afraid. Thank you.
Thank you. Phil, I'm sorry, did you speak yet?
No, I did not, Mayor. Perhaps if you would like.
I'm sorry. Elsie, what did you say?
I'm sorry, I just said, well said, Josh.
Okay.
Yes. I can reserve the reading of the resolution regarding federal police to the time we bring it up off consent, or I can read through it now, whatever the council's pleasure is. But just a few brief announcements, since we do have a substantial calendar and we've been at our borough business. First, I'd like to welcome Tara. I look forward to serving with you. I thank Councilman Fine for his comments regarding former Councilwoman Welkovits, and also John Lewis, who is an icon in my particular family for well over 30 years. But I'm not going to eulogize Councilman Welkovits. I had the delight to drive Susie home from meetings on occasion, and we had just as much delight in each other in arguing on the drive home and sitting in the car and arguing as we did in our confrontations and arguments and back and forth in council. And it was the delight in sharing ideas and being able to address questions with verve, with vigor, with energy, and backed up by facts, and the conviction of her values that made it a delight to serve with her. And we should remember that. I do not eulogize her, I celebrate her, and we should carry that forward. Just a couple of comments with regard to the Artists Collective. Councilman Fine had mentioned the coordination, but there was a short presentation last week from the Artists Collective to a resident for the mask competition that the collective ran, trying to make some bright spot out of the COVID-19. They ran a contest for people to submit artistic masks with a contribution to the food pantry as the ticket to enter the contest. They raised almost $1,000. And also recently, if you will recall, Councilwoman Foster-Dublin had mentioned that the Teen Center was looking for contributions for backpacks for our teens at the center who are graduating and are going to college. and may have limited means after tuition and grants and so on. The Artist Collective challenged people to contribute, and they would match the contributions at $70 a piece. They raised the money and presented it last week for 10 out of the 16 requested backpacks. Mayor, if you will, I would proceed to read the resolution with your permission.
I think we'll have it later on in the agenda.
Or which I think it has been shifted on the agenda, and therefore I would reserve it till that time. Just noting for the record, among the other items, we have the introduction of the amendments to the tree ordinance. I thank STAC for their work on that. They've been looking forward to see the amendment. And finally, a reminder to all our residents, we have reinstituted bulk trash pickup. Last week, we found, in the last 2 weeks, we found that we are actually able to accommodate more pickups based upon the tonnage that we're picking up. Just call DPW, schedule for a Wednesday. We're moving our collection up from 20 stops to 25 based upon the fact that we found that we can accommodate that, and that will run every Wednesday through the end of August. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Stephanie, I know you left, but did you have a report to give?
Oh, I had, I spoke already
We did.
about.
You did, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Borough Administrator, do you have a report?
I do have two items, Mayor. The first is, I hate these announcements, but I just wanted to, by now, the estimated tax bills have hit mailboxes. I know I received mine. I wanted to bring it up mainly because they look very different than our usual bill that we'd be receiving this time of year. But it is a bill. It is due August 1st with a grace period through August 10th. So there's an interest-free grace period. Same as our normal third quarter bills would be. But I just, in case you got it and you weren't familiar with the format, we went with estimated bills at the recommendation of the state due to the COVID emergency and timelines. It was a way to get the bills out the door on time. So I just wanted you to know what that was. And the other is a follow-up. We had a public forum on deer management. The date is escaping me. It was a few weeks ago, sorry. And as a follow-up to that, we're scheduling a council work session on deer management where we've invited some members of the Board of Health, the Sustainable Highland Park, and the Environmental Commission to give comments on kind of what the options that Borough has. And we're also offering the opportunity for the public to give comment. The meeting information's up on our website on the calendar, August 4th. And there's instructions as to how you can sign up to speak because the meeting was very, very well attended. So we want to try to manage it, but we will be offering people the opportunity to speak at this meeting and give comment. So more details will be on the web and pushed out through our usual outlets, but I just wanted to close the loop on that. And again, it's August 4th at 7 o'clock on Zoom.
Okay. Borough Attorney, do you have a report?
No report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, several members of the council spoke about Susie Welkovits, who was not only a council person that I worked with for years, but also became a good friend of mine. As a colleague in the borough government, Susie was gracious, informed, a team player, and wholly unafraid of hard work. To advance, she did everything she could to advance the goals of making Highland Park a better place. And because of those traits, Susie got things done. She brought in grant money, such as the New Jersey DCA funds, that enabled us to build multifunctional pavilion on our Borough Square location. And that money that enabled the town to reconfigure our sidewalks for safe routes to school. She was passionate and she was a strong advocate for the environment, the needs of pedestrians and bicyclists, the arts, and for economic development. I would like us all, everyone on the call and everyone on the council, to please take a moment of silence to remember a remarkable woman that we all lost. Thank you. I also want to thank everyone who reached out to Susie's family at this time to offer support. We are currently planning a memorial service for Susie, which will take place on August 12th at 8 p.m. at the Pavilion on Borough Square. As you know, I had the great pleasure of swearing in Tara Canavera as our newest council member. There were 3 very strong candidates that came to interview for the position before the governing body. And I hope that the people that did not get the position this time will stay involved. I hope you will continue to work for our town. We need your energy and your creativity. So I want to thank the folks that you don't see on the council meeting tonight as well. Also, we learned earlier this month that our local efforts to encourage full participation in the US 2020 census have proven remarkably successful. The rate of response in Highland Park has already exceeded the entire Highland Park response from 2010. And our response rate also exceeds the response rate of the county and the country overall. This is definitely great news. And I want to thank the Complete Count Committee for everything they did so far and will continue to do. And their chairperson, Udi Shore, and his entire active committee. I also want to thank the borough staff members, Emma, Harry, Monica, and Sherry Johnson in the Highland Park Library for what they've been doing to help us get more people to complete the forms. That's great, but there's still work to be done. We stand now at roughly 70% of the borough residents having completed their forms and filed them. This still leaves a large chunk of our population that has not yet completed the census, and that loss in population could result in a loss to the municipality of over $4.5 million. So if you care about our town, if you care about our schools, if you care about all the programming that we make available to all the residents of our community, I urge you to please complete your census form, get it in, help us earn that $4.5 million that we should have coming to Highland Park. Finally, I also want to send a thank you to all of our residents of our town who have taken the threat of COVID-19 seriously and maintained all of your efforts to discourage the spread. You've worn masks when you're out in public, you've stayed 6 feet apart from others in responsible ways, and you've been washing your hands frequently. That's all good. And because of your efforts, we have been able to flatten the curve in Highland Park. The number of confirmed infected cases in our borough remains in the vicinity of 160. And we see very small increases on a weekly, not a daily basis. But we cannot become complacent. We are definitely not out of the woods yet. I strongly urge that people respect the rules that our governor has put in place and the council of the CDC. And please put on face masks when you are outside. Of course, continue to wash your hands regularly and keep 6 feet of social distance whenever you can. If we continue doing these things, we will be okay. Okay, we're about to open our first public discussion session. It's 21 minutes in total. 3 minutes will be allotted to each speaker, and it is this point of public comment is limited to items that are on the agenda. Because we're on Zoom, if you want to speak on an item that's not listed, please do so in the second go round. But the borough clerk will monitor the time of each person speaking and indicate when 3 minutes have lapsed. She will give you a warning when there is 30 seconds left to your time. There will also be a hard stop at this 3 minute mark to make sure that everyone has time to speak. And as a reminder, I may interrupt or warn or terminate a participant's statement if it does not adhere to the 3 minutes provided, or if the statement is abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. So, while on Zoom, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand by pressing the *9 on your phone keypad, or select the raise hand button on the application. The borough administrator will announce your turn by reading out your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. Please begin by telling us your first and last name, and as well as your address. Again, if you'd like to speak, please raise your hand by pressing the *9 button or the raise your hand on Zoom. Borough Administrator, could you please announce our first speaker if there is one?
Sure. Just as it's come up as a question, we have what looks to be 42 people in attendance this evening. And as of right now, I see no hands raised. So again, *9 up, we have a hand raised. Looks like a few people have their hands raised now. First person I'm going to call on is named Jeff Vardaro. I'm going to, Jeff, you should be able to speak. Please state your name.
Sure, and I don't know whether you'd prefer, Madam Mayor, if I wait until the second session, because this is really only tangentially related to the agenda, but I have a question about the appointments part of the agenda. And in particular, something that isn't appearing on the agenda that I would have expected to today, which is about the Highland Park Equity Commission. If you prefer I wait, I'll wait.
Well, the first part, because the appointment is on the agenda, you can ask that one. And if the Equity Commission is not on the agenda, I prefer you wait till the second on that one.
All right, then I'll wait. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I got confused. Was he gonna question about appointments?
No, the appointments, there's appointments on the agenda, but not for the Equity Commission, and that's basically the question, but
I thought you meant the council appointment. I'm sorry. Okay, we'll come back to that. All right. Next person on that appears to be raising their hand comes up as Tatiana on my screen. Please state your name first and last and your address.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. I'm new to this. I'm Tatiana Gelfand. I live on 118 North 5th Avenue. And what else? That's all, right?
That's it.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would like to ask in regards to the deer management. I was present at the meeting on the 30th of June, and at the end, Terry summarized our chats that a number of people asked whether it would be possible to invite for a presentation the group that is one of the largest group in New Jersey, APLNJ.
Tatiana, I'm going to interrupt for 1 second. Do we have the deer management on the agenda?
Yes, Terry mentioned about the meeting. It's a
No,
dear.
no, but it's not on the agenda, is it?
No. She mentioned about the meeting in August. On the agenda, there is deer feeding or something, feeding deer. It's in the work session.
Oh, the ordinance you're talking.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Right,
Okay, go
right.
ahead.
So it's in regards to the deer
Ordinance.
issue.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering if it would be possible to invite this group, as a number of people suggested and asked about, because they are the largest group. They are like from the 80s, and they have a lot of experience of working in different townships in New Jersey, and they have a biologist, a lawyer, so they're very knowledgeable in all these issues. And I thought that might be very useful for us.
Okay, thank you. We'll take it under advisement. Terry, is there anybody else?
Hold on one second. Let's see. No, I'm just going to scroll my list real quick. Oh wait, I stand corrected. Looks like Peter Spool would like to speak. I have now unmuted you. Please state your name and address. You need to unmute yourself as well.
I'm a resident of Highland Park. I'm at 146 Graham Street on the south side. I see one agenda item is for that parcel on Cleveland Avenue that I believe the plan is to develop it as a private girls' school. I read through the redevelopment plan that includes some information about that. It makes brief mention that before that it would become a nonprofit, and that currently it the property pays, the owners of the property pay about $100,000 in local property taxes. I'm wondering if this resolution were to be approved, what the borough plans to do about that loss of revenue in the future.
So Peter,
let me finish, especially this year when taxes received may be less than usual.
So Peter, that's a good question and something that we debated for quite a bit of time. We did work out some community benefits that equal a far greater amount of contributions that the developer has agreed to. So I'm wondering if Joe Baumann, who's the redevelopment attorney, would like to speak to those community benefits.
I'd like to hear what they are, especially
But that's what I'm asking him to do.
Especially in order of the amounts.
Okay, Peter.
Largest amounts first.
Peter, he is about to answer.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Let me begin by saying that the school won't be constructed this year, so I don't expect that the impact on the taxes will be this year. But going forward, the borough is a part of the negotiation of the redevelopment agreement, remembering that this is a permitted use in the area and it would otherwise be a nonprofit use. Negotiated a number of community benefits that we thought were critical to this project and to the community to help offset the impact of the project as well as the financial impact of the project. So to begin with, number one, the redeveloper has agreed to make a community impact contribution for a period of 10 years at $20,000 a year. That's the equivalent of the taxes lost by the borough from the property when it becomes an exempt property. Not today, but when that happens, once it's completed. We've also negotiated, and so that's over 10 years, $200,000. We've also negotiated substantial improvements to our community center. An affiliate of the redeveloper is going to make improvements to our community center for new flooring in the hallways, multi-purpose room, repainting of the entire facility, remodeling of the food pantry, new carpeting in administration area, and TV lounge. That's an estimated value of $85,000. There's a significant savings to the Board of Education from this project. the students that currently attend the school in other areas. We currently have to reimburse for busing for those students. When the school is reopened in Highland Park, the Board of Education will no longer have to contribute to busing. That's estimated at about $80,000 in value.
$80,000 a year?
A year to our Board of Education. Big savings. And that's in perpetuity. The redeveloper has agreed to make substantial, several $100,000. Jim Constantine may be able to give me a more precise number of infrastructure and road improvements going out along Cleveland Avenue and Madison Avenue, North 2nd Avenue, Harrison Avenue, in that area. It includes bump outs, new crosswalks, red flashing stop signs, stop bars, ADA ramps at the Cleveland Madison Avenue intersection, pedestrian and bicycle safety improvements along Cleveland Avenue, Madison Avenue, North 2nd Avenue, and Harrison Avenue, including new sidewalks, shared lane parkings, share street signage, 8 crosswalks with yellow no parking boxes, new ADA accessible ramps, 2-way bicycle pedestrian lane, replacement and repair of existing sidewalks and handicap accessible ramps, and shade tree. There'll be improvements at the cul-de-sac at Cleveland Avenue terminus and driveway access to the Borough pump station improvements, street trees along Cleveland Avenue and Madison Avenue stormwater management improvements to address certain flooding that's occurring in the area, rain gardens and other best management practices to be employed, street lighting improvements, including upgrading existing fixtures and installing new fixtures. So that infrastructure improvements, which goes well beyond the project off-site, are estimated to be in the couple $100,000 area. So the redevelopers also agreed to reimburse the borough for and will reimburse the borough for some of its additional out-of-pocket expenses. So the economic impact, the economic benefit to the borough is substantial, measured in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for a property owner who would otherwise is a exempt property under New Jersey law.
Thank you for the details.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody else who has a hand raised?
No, Mayor, I don't see any other hands.
All right, then we're going to move on to the resolution to introduce the 2020 Main Street Highland Park budget and approve it on first reading and schedule public hearing date for August 18th, 2020 at 7 p.m. May I have a motion to adopt or reject?
So move.
Second.
Motion to adopt.
Okay, did you get that, Borough Clerk?
Who motioned?
Hale.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
What? Ow. Josh, you're
Councilman
muted.
Fine?
Councilman Fine?
You're mute.
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster-Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Gail, can we just, for Tara, she can abstain on some of these items if she wants.
Right.
Mention that.
Thank you for that reminder, Stephanie. Kara, certainly if there's something that you're not familiar with, you can just abstain on the vote.
There's two that I was going to because I'm not familiar with.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, so clerk, can you please report on introduction of the amendment to the tree removal and protection ordinance for consideration of passage on first reading by title?
An ordinance to replace Chapter 388 of the Code of the Borough of Highland Park, 2010 concerning tree removal and protection has been introduced in writing by the Public Works and Public Utilities Committee for consideration of passage on first reading by title.
Okay, may I have a motion to adopt or reject and advertise the ordinance on final reading for title?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster-Dublin,
Elsie?
I said yes.
Okay.
Councilman George,
Yes.
Councilman Hale,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Yes.
Okay. Clerk, could you please report on introduction of the ordinance authorizing acceptance of site triangle easement for 31 River Road for consideration of passage of first reading by title?
an ordinance of the Borough Council of the Borough of Highland Park, County of Middlesex, New Jersey, authorizing acceptance of a non-exclusive easement over Block 183, Lot 24, as shown on the official tax map of the Borough of Highland Park, pursuant to NJSA 40A:12-1, has been introduced in writing by the Economic Development and Planning Committee for consideration of passage on first reading by title.
Okay, may I have a motion to adopt or reject and advertise the ordinance on first reading by title?
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster-Dublin,
Yes.
Councilman George,
Just a quick point of conversation. Right at that corner, which is that the corner of Walter and River, is my understanding. The mature oak tree, that it doesn't change the foliage, it just is designated sightline where there can't be any buildings. I vote yes.
Councilman Hale,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Canavera,
You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, abstain.
Okay. All right, clerk, could you please report on introduction of the salary ordinance amendment for consideration of passage on first reading by title?
an ordinance to amend an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to provide for and determine the rate of compensation of each officer and employee of the Borough of Highland Park and the method of payment of such compensation has been introduced in writing by the Public Works and Public Utilities Committee for consideration of passage on first reading by title. I should say Finance Committee.
Okay. All right, may I have a motion to adopt or reject and advertise the ordinance on first reading by title?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster-Dublin,
Yes.
Councilman George,
Yes.
Councilman Hale,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Yes.
All right, we're moving on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion to adopt items number 16 through 27?
Motion.
Do I have a second? Matt, are you seconding?
I can second. I just wanted to have a clarification that Councilman George had expressed interest in talking about a particular part of the consent agenda.
It's separate from the consent agenda, Matt.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure he had that chance to.
Yeah,
I thought it was
he will. He will.
Okay.
It's coming up. It is coming up.
Thank you, Councilman.
All right.
So, were you a second also?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster-Dublin,
Yes.
Councilman George,
Yes.
Councilman Hale,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Yes.
Okay, moving to the non-consent items. Item number 28, may I have a motion to adopt or reject the 2020 Middlesex County Code Blue grant?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster-Dublin,
I just want
Councilman George, sorry.
the code blue is for the warming centers that we have in town during inclement weather in the cold season. So that's that grant that will come to us so people can come to a warming center in the wintertime.
Councilman George,
Yes.
Councilman Hale,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Yes.
Okay, may I have a motion to adopt or reject the Hazardous Discharge Site Remediation Fund grant?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster-Dublin,
Yes.
Councilman George,
Yes.
Councilman Hale,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Canavera.
Yes.
Okay. Before I ask for a motion to adopt or reject the redevelopment agreement for 433 Cleveland Avenue, I want to ask our redevelopment attorney, Mr. Joe Baumann. I know you've spoken about parts of this agreement when the question came up earlier. Do you have anything else you would like to add so that we have a fuller understanding of what is in the agreement?
Thank you, Mayor. I would. I think what's most important to add is a little bit of the history, because sometimes when like this appears on the council agenda, people don't always understand the time, effort, and energy and involvement of the mayor and council and business administrator and staff and consultants that went into making this agreement a reality and will ultimately make this a project that Highland Park can be proud of. I'm talking about over a year, maybe almost two, of discussion with the property owner, who I should also add has been fully cooperative. A pleasure to work with him and his professionals. Has clearly had a vision for his school, but an overwhelming desire to also be a good corporate citizen, a good member of the community, and that bears out in this agreement. Begin by understanding that the use that he proposes here is a use that he would be permitted to construct. It's a use that would be allowed in that area, and yet the property owner willingly went forward with us through a redevelopment process that allowed us to be much more involved in the vision and developing this project than the borough would have otherwise ever been able to be involved. So beginning with meetings with the community, meetings with the professionals, the planners on our side, our engineers, we developed a vision and a project that everyone ultimately concluded would be a real positive for Highland Park. That effort, that community involvement, that process took, I think, almost a year from start to finish. And it resulted in a redevelopment plan that became the zoning for the area. That redevelopment plan went through a process also with multiple public hearings, input from the planning board, the mayor and council, multiple meetings and hearings and votes to set the zoning for the area. And from there, we moved into the negotiation of a redevelopment agreement, which is a contract between us and the property owners that, but for the redevelopment process, would not be within our powers to enter into. That agreement, which is in front of the mayor and council today, has within it all of the community benefits that I described to you, which again, I don't think would otherwise have happened, but for this cooperative property owner and diligent and thoughtful and caring mayor and council and business administrator to bring this to fruition. So as I described, I won't go over it again. You have, depending on how long you count the benefit to the Board of Ed, which effectively goes into perpetuity, over $1 million easily in community benefits for this project coming to the community side. And things like that have been long, I believe, long on the wish list of the community, like improvements to the community center. So those are huge financial benefits to the process. And the agreement also has a number of other items that perhaps one would consider maybe boilerplate, but they're still important. Things like ongoing progress reports, the requirement to meet certain schedules and timelines, remedies if the developer doesn't do what they're being asked, the requirement to cooperate with the community, and things like that. So all of that contractual obligations, again, wouldn't exist but for the mayor and the governing body deciding to go through this redevelopment process. So this really is sort of I believe, an example of how successful a project that begins as a vision of a private property owner becomes the vision of an entire community with everyone benefit having gone through it in a cooperative. And that doesn't mean that we agreed every step of the way. That doesn't mean that there were some robust conversations, both between our planners and their planners and our engineers and their engineers and our traffic consultants and theirs. There were the lawyers as well, but at the end of the day, we came to an agreement that I think the mayor and governing body should be very proud of, and I'm very happy to recommend to you for consideration and for vote today.
Thank you. Okay. And having heard all of that, may I have a motion to adopt or reject the resolution authorizing redevelopment agreement of 433 Cleveland Avenue?
So moved. Motion to adopt.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster-Dublin,
Yes.
Councilman George,
I just want to thank the Borough Administrator, Mr. Baumann and Mr. Constantine for their work on this. Mr. Baumann's comments are correct. There was some disagreement and uncomfortableness with this application. A process in its beginning, however, he's correct, it is exempt, and we could either litigate it as we've lost in the past, or we could sit down and engage in a cooperative effort and bring the neighborhood into it. Well, I still think that there are some issues. I remind everyone that we also have schools in the middle of other neighborhoods with their traffic flow and pedestrian traffic. We have Councilwoman Welkovits to thank for some of the input in this one, as well as her past efforts. And I think that it's a workable plan. And I congratulate the administration for accomplishing it without the long and costly litigation, which we would be likely to lose. I vote yes.
Councilman Hale.
Yeah, I just want to quickly also add my thanks and to all of the staff, Jim and Joe and Terry, and worked tirelessly along with the developer to come up with this plan, which has been stated again and again. This is a win-win for the community, we believe, and it's a testimony to what sort of putting your nose to the grindstone can do. And I just want to make sure that the council and the mayor have been there. Yes, that's true, but I think Joe Baumann, Mr. Baumann, and Mr. Constantine and Borough Administrator Jover, we need to recognize their hard work and efforts to listen to the community, to listen to the council. I just think it's really important that we recognize how much they have done to make this agreement quite a good one. So I just want to say thank you very much. Add that as well, and I vote yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Yes.
Okay, I too want to thank the council for their positive votes tonight. We've been working with this developer for quite some time. There was a lot of heated discussion that we did get in with him. And he listened to what the residents in the area said, and also to the concerns that I had and you had. So that I think this is a project that will bode well, not only for that little piece of Cleveland Avenue, but gives us the impetus to now work towards a greater plan for the rest of Cleveland Avenue. Okay, moving on. I am appointing Derek Gamble to HP Gifthood. May I have a motion to?
Mayor.
Resolution.
I'm sorry, I see Terry's hand up.
You skipped over Phil's soliloquy.
All right, thank you. Okay, before we go in and ask for a vote on this resolution to encourage our elected officials to prevent the federal government from taking over our cities and towns across America with military presence. I'd like to have Phil George, who was the one who put this together for tonight, say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a note for the record that anyone following the news knows that although our agenda packet was distributed on Thursday afternoon for Friday publication, over the weekend and through the use of cell phones by actual witnesses, news broke late Saturday night regarding the use of federal unmarked and unnamed military troops to arrest innocent protesters in Portland. And this resolution was included in your packet in the amended agenda, but for members of the public, I'm going to read Resolution 20-215, a resolution of the Borough Council of the Borough of Highland Park, objecting to the presence of federal police or military forces in the city of Portland, Oregon, and condemning the arrest and detention of innocent citizens in direct violation of constitutional rights. Whereas on or about Saturday evening, July 18, 2020, news was circulated via smartphone videos from Portland, Oregon, that uniformed federal police or military forces who were not displaying organizational identification, unit markings, or names were detaining innocent peaceful protesters in the city of Portland, Oregon, without probable cause and without advising those protesters of why they were being arrested. And whereas on or about Saturday evening, July 18, 2020, it was also reported via smartphone videos from Portland, Oregon, that uniformed federal police or military forces who were not displaying organizational identification, unit markings, or names were placing those innocent peaceful protesters who were detained without cause or charges into unmarked civilian vehicles and removing them to unknown locations. And whereas on or about Saturday evening, July 18, 2020, it was also reported via smartphone videos from Portland, Oregon, that uniformed federal police or military forces who were not displaying organizational identification, unit markings, or names were detaining those innocent peaceful protesters indefinitely and without a notice of the charges against them or in conformance with other constitutionally guaranteed civil rights. And whereas thousands of residents of the Borough of Highland Park have participated in various peaceful rallies, protests, marches, and demonstrations without incident in support of various causes, and the Borough of Highland Park supports the right of peaceful free assembly and protest, freedom of speech, and the protection of constitutionally guaranteed rights for all. And whereas the Borough of Highland Park has previously adopted a resolution decrying the practice of federal ICE agents deputizing local police forces and individual police officers to assist in arrests of immigrants without judicial process, and directed that the Highland Park Police Department shall not cooperate or supply any information to any ICE agent or agency without signed judicial process. And whereas the Borough of Highland Park strongly objects to any use of unmarked, unidentified federal police, military forces, or any other use of force of any kind to intimidate, discourage, detain, arrest, incarcerate, or forcibly interfere with any peaceful protest for any reason. And whereas the Borough of Highland Park strongly encourages the elected federal representatives of the citizens of the state of New Jersey to immediately condemn the above actions of unmarked and identified federal police or military forces to intimidate and detain peaceful protesters who support any cause or reason in flagrant violation of constitutionally guaranteed civil rights, and pass all such laws to immediately terminate the same. And whereas the Borough of Highland Park wishes to demonstrate its solidarity with the mayor of the city of Portland, Oregon, and the governor of the state of Oregon in objecting to such illegal and unconstitutional invasions and violations of constitutionally guaranteed civil rights, and demanding the immediate removal of unmarked and identified federal police or military forces from the city of Portland, now therefore be it resolved that the Borough of Highland Park condemns in strongest terms the unprovoked and uninvited use of the uniformed federal police or military forces who were not displaying organizational identification, unit markings, or names to detain innocent, peaceful protesters in the city of Portland, Oregon, without probable cause and without advising those protesters of why they were being arrested, placing them in unmarked civilian vehicles and removing them to unknown locations, detaining them indefinitely and without a notice of the charges against them or in conformance with other constitutionally guaranteed civil rights. And that the Borough of Highland Park recognizes the rights of its residents to participate in various peaceful rallies, protests, marches, and demonstrations without incident in support of various causes, and the Borough of Highland Park supports the right of peaceful free assembly and protest, freedom of speech, and the protection of constitutionally guaranteed rights for all. And that the Borough of Highland Park hereby directs that the Highland Park Police Department shall not cooperate with any unmarked and unidentified federal police or military units in arrests of peaceful protesters without direct orders from the New Jersey Attorney General and/or the Middlesex County Prosecutor, and shall not cooperate or supply any information to any unmarked and unidentified federal police or military units without signed judicial process. And that the Borough of Highland Park strongly encourages that the elected federal representatives of the citizens of the state of New Jersey immediately condemn the above actions of unmarked and unidentified federal police or military forces to intimidate and detain peaceful protesters who support any cause or reason in flagrant violation of constitutionally guaranteed civil rights, and pass all such laws to immediately terminate the same. And that the Borough of Highland Park expresses its solidarity with the mayor of the city of Portland, Oregon, and the governor of the state of Oregon in objecting to such illegal and unconstitutional invasions and violations of constitutionally guaranteed rights, and demanding the immediate removal of unmarked and identified federal police or military forces from the city of Portland. Be it further resolved, a copy of this resolution shall be immediately forwarded to all elected federal and state officials in the state of New Jersey, our Governor Phil Murphy, Governor Kate Brown of the state of Oregon, and Mayor Ted Wheeler of the city of Portland. I so move.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster-Dublin?
Definitely.
Councilman George?
I would have amended it to include Philadelphia and New York and Chicago, where we just added, and I will refrain my comments unless they sound political, were just added to the list of unmarked military police being used to intimidate protesters for a political end that is improper, unconstitutional, and evil. However, I won't move to amend it. I vote yes.
Councilman Hale,
Amen, and I vote yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan,
Yes, thank you, Phil, for bringing this to today's agenda. Thank you.
Councilwoman Canavera,
100% yes.
Thank you all.
Okay, and now I am going to be appointing Derek Gamble to the HP Gizahoot Committee. May I have a motion to confirm?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster-Dublin,
Yes.
Councilman George,
Yes.
Councilman Hale,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Yes.
Okay, we are now up to our second public comment section. And this is when you may come up and speak for 3 minutes on any topic, even if it's not on the agenda. The borough clerk will monitor the time and will offer a 30-second warning and then indicate when 3 minutes have lapsed. The session will wrap up at 9 p.m. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand by pressing the *9 button on your phone or keypad, or select the raise hand on the Zoom settings. The borough administrator will announce your turn by reading out either your name or the last 4 numbers of your phone number. Please begin by telling us your first and last name and your address. Again, now is the time if you would like to speak about a topic on the agenda or not on the agenda, press *9 or raise your hand on Zoom.
I will unmute myself. Looks like we have a few raised hands. First one I'm going to call on is Jeff Vardaro, who had offered to hold his comments till the second session. Jeff, you should be able to speak. Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Jeff Vardaro. I live on Wayne Street. Madam Mayor and members of council, I have to admit I'm a little angry tonight, and hearing John Lewis's name in the council reports has not helped. I applied to serve on the Highland Park Equity Commission last October 2019. I was finally interviewed 6 weeks ago after this council promised to fill the vacancies on the commission and finally let it do its work. I don't want to feign humility. I believe I am very well qualified for the commission. I'm an experienced civil rights attorney. I hold police departments accountable for misconduct as my job, and I represent Black police officers when they are discriminated against by their departments. Since I don't practice law in New Jersey, but I live here and I care deeply about the need for our police department to be reformed, I was willing to volunteer my time, as I've seen so many of our local experts volunteer their time on boards of commissions. But prior to this meeting, I was told I was not being placed on the commission, nor were any applicants at this time because the applicant pool was not sufficiently diverse. I am in favor of diversity on the Equity Commission. I expressed that to Councilwoman Kim Chohan in my interview, but I know diverse candidates have applied and they have not been appointed either tonight. Nor am I aware of any effort by this mayor or this council to more effectively recruit diverse candidates to fill the commission. So diversity seems to me like an excuse for dragging your feet on filling this commission. Again, I am in favor of diversity on the Equity Commission, but I am also in favor of diversity on the zoning board and the planning board, and for that matter, on this council. If you want the Equity Commission to be diverse so badly that you won't even fill seats with qualified applicants unless they're Black, but you don't hold the zoning board or the planning commission or planning board to that standard, that is a problem. If you want the Equity Commission to be diverse that badly, but you don't hold yourselves to anything like that standard in filling a council vacancy, that is a problem. If that is how this council is going to use diversity as an excuse for delay, as an excuse for inaction, as something that only applies to what you prioritize least, when you do nothing to promote diversity on our most powerful boards and commissions and on this council itself. No one on this council should have John Lewis's name in their mouth. Fill the Equity Commission. I don't have to be on it. I don't even know who would want to be on it at this point when you have all made it so clear over the past year and a half that you have no interest in its work. But please fill it, and fill it.
30 seconds.
We needed it yesterday, we needed it last year, and we need it now. Please fill the Equity Commission. Thank you.
I don't think you have the right to say no one on this council has the right.
Elsie.
You don't get
Jeff,
the right.
Jeff.
Raise your voice.
Jeff, we are reformulating the Equity Commission. Just today, or yesterday, I had a conversation with Councilwoman Stephanie Kim Chohan. We're changing the direction of where that committee was going to be held. I do believe that we do have to have diversity on all our boards and commissions. That's part of the reason why I held up some of the appointments. I have spoken with several people who put their applications in. You and I have not spoken. I'm happy to talk with you some more. We will be filling the commission. We are also part of the holdup is, as you may or may not be aware, the legislature is looking at the possibility of having civilian review boards, whether it be at the county level or the municipal level, and that Equity Commission would be able to serve in that kind of capacity if that goes through. So part of the holdup was seeing what the legislature is going to do. Please do not blame the council members for this. I was the holdup because I want to do it right. Thank you.
Mayor, I would like to see you hold up appointments on the zoning board or the planning board when you don't get enough Black applicants. I'd like to see that happen in this town. So I will hold you to that standard. If you have vacancies on any of the boards and commissions and the candidate pool is not diverse enough, I want to see you hold up those appointments. And I've never seen it before, and maybe I'm not aware of it. I don't think it's happened. I think this is foot dragging so that we can lose momentum on this movement.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Yep, just give me a moment. The next person who has their hand raised is Anna Halen. I'm going to unmute. Anna, please state your name and address for the record. I think you're muted, Anna. Can you try that?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, good. Thank you. I didn't know that I had to unmute myself as well.
I don't know.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Halen, and I live on 235 Montgomery Street. I have a few comments and questions regarding the potential deer management plan in Highland Park. First of all, I'm glad to hear that another meeting has been announced because that answers one of the questions I had. So thank you for that. So I have understood that some residents in Highland Park have complained about deer, mainly about deer being in the way or intimidating. There have been some concerns about Lyme disease, and people are upset about deer eating plants in their gardens. I attended the June 13 deer management meeting, and the council had invited the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife to this meeting. Since the majority of the members in the Fish and Game Council must be hunters, and so this is by statute, it has to be that way. So I wasn't very surprised when they presented what was basically a 1 hour long commercial for deer hunting in Highland Park. They actually stated clearly that there is no such thing as too many deer. And then they went on to recommend population control through hunting. And given that, I want to stress that the concerns raised by our residents can be addressed without population control. First of all, deer are not aggressive. So if people find them intimidating, we can provide education for residents about what to do when a deer is standing in the way, like how do you get them to leave. And second, CDC, that is the Center for Disease Control, which helps us stay safe from COVID-19, does not recommend hunting deer as a way to combat Lyme disease because it doesn't work. Third, Rutgers provides an extensive list of deer-resistant plants which people can grow in the gardens. And any sensitive plants or vegetables can be netted in or surrounded by plants that deter deer. Or you can use repellents. I've heard residents here in Highland Park say that they've had great success with deer repellents. So none of the concerns that Highland Park residents have regarding deer requires population control of any kind. So I would like to invite the council and anyone else who would like more information to read more at the website deerhp.com. And finally, I would like to know what timeline the council has set for this deer question. When can we expect the decision and how would that decision be made? And what can we expect from this virtual work session? Because if Fish and Wildlife gets what they want—
30 seconds.
Thank you. If Fish and Wildlife gets what they want, they would start shooting deer in Highland Park already this fall. And they would try to kill, I quote, as many as physically possible. And given the circumstances I have mentioned, I think that is completely unacceptable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else, Terry?
Yeah, we have 2 more hands. I wasn't sure if you wanted to address the time. I'm sorry. Okay. It looks like someone named Lucinda would like to speak. I'm going to unmute you now. Please state your first and last name and address, please.
This is Lucinda Holt. I live at 501 Raritan Avenue. I want to thank Councilwoman Kim Chohan for moving so quickly to review the backlog of applications for the Highland Park Equity Commission. And I know we are now in a holding pattern, and my question for the mayor is, what's the timeline for filling the seats on the Equity Commission, and by when will those seats be filled such that the Equity Commission can begin its work?
So Lucinda, the Councilwoman Stephanie Kim Chohan gave me the resumes a couple of weeks ago, or the applications, I should say. I did have a chance to go through some of them. I am still receiving additional applications. When you and I last talked, I asked for a couple of weeks, and then we went through some major changes here at the council. So it sort of threw off everything that I was planning to get done in a couple of weeks. So I would say that once we get a better handle from on the applicants that I have, we are now at July 20 something. I can't see my calendar right now. So I would certainly hope that by the end of August, we'll be able to refill that commission. That would be my target. Thank you.
Okay. Mayor, you ready for the next comment?
Yeah, please.
Looks like we have Abby Stern Cardinal. Abby, I've unmuted you, hopefully. Please state your name and address.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Abby Stern Cardinal. I live on Harper Street. I have 2 questions, and I guess I'll just say both and then give you the opportunity to reply. The first one is, I'd like to know when you plan to stream or make public the agenda meeting again to make sure that it's available for public viewing. I know you maybe didn't have them for a little while due to COVID, but I'm wondering when that will go back to being available for public viewing. My second question is, I'd like to hear a little bit more about work session items C and D, since there won't be an opportunity for public comment after these are discussed. It's a couple of the items on the work session are clear to me, but those 2 I just don't really understand. And as I've said before, I think it's important for the public to be able to have the ability to give input on all items that are discussed in an evening. So if those could be explained, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, let me start with your second questions. I'm going to ask Councilwoman Foster-Dublin to explain items C and D, since they're both items that she added.
1 second, I'm trying to find my C and Ds.
It's Fire Department Ordinance Amendments and Director of Emergency Services Ordinance.
Okay, Pat Rinaldi was made our director of public service. Previously, the former Chief Risco was the director of public safety. We pulled that out of the current chief portfolio, and we made Pat Rinaldi the director of all public safety. So fire, first aid, CERT team, and anything emergency management, he is the director that oversees that department. Since his coming on board, we have been doing a lot of cleanup, a lot of tweaking in various departments. And what he has brought we have looked at how do we operate seamless? How do we operate following the standard that we should be? How do we bring our department up to standards? And one, the promotion is him being in place. The second part is to bring the fire, first aid, and other department up to standards by not only Middlesex County, by the state as well. And that's what those two are about.
Thank you for explaining that.
And as for the agenda portion of the meeting, we have not had one. My admin committee and I will be talking about our rules of order in general at an upcoming admin committee meeting. And we'll be talking about whether or not to reinstitute the agenda meetings at that time. Okay.
Okay, Mayor, sorry, I was listening and not doing my other job here.
It's 9 o'clock, right? No, 8.
Oh, it's 8:33. We still have we have 2 hands up.
Okay.
Sonia Headlam, I've unmuted you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Oh, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, fantastic. Good evening to everyone. I just wanted to first thank Jeff Badaro for his comments tonight. It was actually very concerning to hear what he had to say, considering his qualifications, the experience that he has. I think we all could agree he certainly would be a huge asset to this town, sitting in the Equity Commission. Mayor, I found your comments to be actually quite confusing because, and I'd love to ask for clarification. The HPEC was not created to act as a CRB. There's plenty of work that needs to be done. In fact, one of the goals of the HPEC was to create a CRB, which even though it seems to be painted in the light as it was an unreasonable or radical idea, is actually a bill at the state legislation right now. So it's I think that that's something that we all need to keep in mind. So this HPEC was not created to act as a CRB. There's still plenty of work for us to do. In fact, we could actively be working right now on creating a civilian review board in our own borough. If the bill passes, then Mayor, this would be statewide and every municipality would be required to have one, but we don't have to wait for that bill to pass. We could be actively working on that right now. And that's something the HPEC could be working on. And I just would like, Mayor, for you to explain to me why the delay was again, because it's not clear. You're waiting for the legislation because you feel like it's needed to move forward with filling a commission that is not responsible for doing what you could use the HPEC to actually create. It's just very confusing. So I would like clarification why exactly the delay is happening. And I think that considering just how inefficient it seems like the process has been, I don't know if you need help with it. I'd be happy to help out. I'm sure there's other people that would be willing to volunteer their time. If it's that you need help reviewing applications, you need help interviewing candidates, I'm telling you
30
right now,
seconds.
Thank you so much, that I'm willing to help you do that work. I think we really want to see from you that you take this seriously. As you can tell, our country is reeling right now because so many leaders, including in our own town, have not taken seriously the concerns of marginalized communities.
Thank you, Sonia. I will certainly reach out to you once we have some more applications in. Okay, is there anybody else?
One hand, it looks like Anna Haleen, excuse me, is requesting another opportunity. Anna, please restate your name.
Hi, thank you, Cherry. I'm Anna Haleen, and again, I live at 235 Montgomery Street. So I just wanted to ask you, Mayor, you didn't want to address my question about the timeline or how the decision about your question will be made. Is that because there is no timeline yet and you don't know how the decision will be made, or like just why? What or is there a timeline? But
well,
yeah.
Anna, the reason I didn't answer is you're right. We don't have an exact timeline. The next session is a work session, and it's billed as a work session because the council wants to be able to better understand the situation from the perspectives of the chairs of our Environmental Commission, Sustainable Highland Park, Sustainable New Jersey, and the Board of Health. So it's until we can hear what people have to say, we can't really set a timeline.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We've got a couple more hands back up, Mayor.
Okay.
Sonia, again, please state your name for the record.
Yes, Sonia Headlam, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, so similar to the last person that just spoke, I actually asked a question that I didn't get an answer to. So Mayor, I was asking for clarification. Why is there, what exactly are you waiting for? You're saying you're waiting for the legislation to pass, and I'd like clarification, what is actually causing the delay?
So there are a couple of things.
And sorry, you also said that you were you had a revision or something of the group, and I think we would love to hear more about what you're imagining or envisioning.
Well, it's, I wouldn't call it a revisioning of the group, but first of all, it's extremely important to me that this Equity Commission is diverse. The applications that I received included only one person of color. I've had an opportunity to start making calls to people I didn't know who applied for the position. And there are a few more people that...
Mayor, can I just ask a question? Are you saying that you only want people of color on the group?
No, that's not what I said. I said
because I sat on it before, and it was a very diverse group that included white people.
Correct, but everybody on that commission except for Matt Hirsch resigned. And so I want to be able...
I'm talking about the makeup of the group. And yes, I think that's what you're talking about also. So the makeup of the group originally...
If you're not going to let me finish answering your questions, it's not going to be productive. So you asked a question, what do I think there should only be Black people on the commission? And the answer is no. I believe the commission must be diverse. What that means is representations from many different parts of our community. And that's all I mean by that.
And so can you speak more about why you feel like the bill at the state level is causing you to delay?
Well, if the state is going to come out and say that municipalities or counties must have civilian review boards and they must be comprised of X, Y, Z, because that's what they're talking about. They're talking about telling us who you know, what kinds of people, and I mean like backgrounds and that sort of thing, need to be on these boards. I am not delaying only to see what's coming out of the legislature, but I am anxious to get a good working group of people that is diverse and well-versed in some of these things. Jeff Vidaro and I have not spoken about this, and in a very long time, and I still have his application, but it doesn't, I'm not throwing it away if that's what the assumption is.
But you've had it for over a year, it sounds like.
Not I just got the applications.
It's really disappointing. That's all I have to say.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
very disappointing.
Okay, is there any other hands raised from the public?
There is one more. Hold on one second there. Sorry, I have to clear the last person so I don't get confused. Abby has requested an opportunity to speak again. Abby, just restate your name and address, please.
Hi, it's actually Dan Stern.
Oh, sorry, you're coming up as Abby.
We're using
That's why you have to say your name.
We're sitting next to each other. It's Dan Stern, Cardinal, Harper Street. Hi, everybody. So I have kind of two separate questions. I'll keep it short. The first is I'm now confused as to the role of the Equity Commission, because I remember back when it was first passed, there was a discussion about how there was disappointment that it was not specifically in the ordinance. There was nothing in there specifically referencing things like police oversight specifically in there. So I'm unsure how to interpret the remarks tonight that there's delays in filling the seats specifically because the state is considering civilian review boards, and considering that the ordinance for that commission specifically did not mention anything in that direction. I don't know why those two issues would be related. The second thing is I guess more general. It's that, so we've had a bunch of rallies and meetings and things, and we've painted Black Lives Matter on the road in front of Borough Hall. But I'm wondering if there are any specific steps that are being planned legislatively in terms of ordinances along the lines of like what New York just did with banning chokeholds and other police restraints, like using the weight of an officer's body to restrain a suspect on the ground. If we're considering any of those specific steps in Highland Park, in addition to the symbolic actions that have already been taken.
So Dan, I see the captain is on the call. I'm going to ask him to respond. You'll have to unmute yourself, Captain Corbello, but I do want to let you know that Highland Park already has in its policies some of these items as not as banned. But Captain, you can speak to it more specifically.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, our policies, our departmental policies already ban chokeholds and a whole litany of what we can and can't do. Chokeholds are also banned in New Jersey as well. So we're not allowed to do them.
If I can just clarify for a second, now correct me if I'm wrong, but the latest guidance from the state of New Jersey, is it a blanket ban on chokeholds and similar restraints, or is it ban except in like certain circumstances that are specifically prescribed in the I don't know if it's an ordinance in the state or a rule.
Sure. The way that it's written, unless your life is in danger or the danger of somebody else, you are not allowed to use a chokehold, and that's as per the Attorney General.
Right. So what I'm wondering is if the borough is considering doing what other cities and municipalities have done and going beyond those to enact blanket prohibitions on those things that are shown to be dangerous to the people that they're used against, and where banning them does not have a negative impact on policing outcomes. Is anything like that in consideration?
Do you mean, just so my clarification, so I'll double check my policy on that. Do you mean not in a life or death situation? Is that what you're?
No, I mean like blanket ban. Like there have been a number of cities and municipalities that have just said, situation doesn't matter. You're not allowed to do a certain set of things anymore. And I'm wondering if Highland Park is considering a similar ordinance. Not necessarily a police regulation, but like a legislative action.
Yeah, so in New Jersey, all the use of force is governed by the Attorney General. The Attorney General sets a use of force policy for the entire state. There's actually a new use of force policy coming out by the Attorney General, hopefully relatively soon. There have been open public meetings with the Attorney General's office in regards to the new use of force policy that's coming out. So hopefully that's soon, and it will be more delineated in the policy about what is permitted and what is not permitted.
And just a
Dan, I just want to jump in for a second. So one of the things that the captain was mentioning is, and Captain, you correct me if I'm not interpreting you correctly, but my understanding is that a municipality cannot do something that is different from what the AG's office tells them.
Can't supersede the AG guideline.
Correct. We follow the Attorney General's guideline. They make the rules.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. You can, if you would like, if you go onto the Attorney General's website, and I think we also have it on our website and Facebook page as well, the Attorney General's guidelines on use of force, which has not been updated by the Attorney General since 2001.
Okay, Carrie, are there any other people?
It looks like I have 2 more hands, and it looks like Jeff Vardaro has asked to speak again. Jeff, can you state your name? Is it you? I guess I have to
Jeff
start
Vardaro
with
again.
Okay.
Street. I just wanted to get a clear, and maybe I missed this in my rage spiral, but what is the council or what are you doing, Mayor, to recruit more diverse applicants for the Equity Commission between now and hopefully the end of August, as the timeline you gave Lucinda?
I have spoken to several community members who have told me they're interested, and I asked them to also speak to friends and neighbors who might be interested in working on the Equity Commission to send in their applications.
So nothing like really organized, no effort to reach out in particular areas of the community.
Well, so I think
send out public messages,
no,
publicize
so
newspapers.
right now, I think the Equity Commission and Councilwoman Foster-Dublin, Kim Chohan or Councilman Matt Hale, you can correct me, but I think the Equity Commission has a 9-person body.
7.
7?
I think it's 7.
7.
7.
Okay, so and so far there are about 5 people I've already spoken to. Jeff, I'm more than happy to talk with you again.
Got my number.
Pardon?
I said you've got my number.
No, I actually was about to text you after the meeting. So, so we're almost getting there. There are just a few positions that would still be open.
Just the reason I ask is primarily because of my earlier point, which is I think that you all need to do a better job of getting diverse candidates for all of our boards and commissions. And I think, when we do this in the legal field, we always demand that employers who discriminate advertise in newspapers and radio stations and things like that to diverse communities. And I think you should be doing that for every single board and commission, and frankly for council vacancies as well. I mean, posting something on Facebook or getting people to ask, getting people you know to ask people they know is not reaching every part of this community. And that's, evidenced by this commission, it's evidenced by the council process. And I think you need to do better on that, but I appreciate the answers.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Let's see. Looks like we have 2 hands and we have just about enough time to do 2, I think, Mayor, maybe.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. It looks like Dan, and I'm just gonna let you say your last name because it's cut off on my screen. Could you please state your name and address?
Thank you, Terry. Dan Matt, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you're there.
Okay. Dan Matura, 233 Denison Street. I'd just like to correct and clarify something during Dan Stern Cardinale's question. Mayor, I don't see Council Member Foster-Dublin on the screen right now, but Councilman Foster-Dublin and The captain actually said that the AG's use of force guidelines is all that the HPPD can do and all the council can do. My understanding is this is completely inaccurate. I was actually on the listening session on the use of force policy held by the Attorney General on June 24th, and the Attorney General himself said that these are minimum standards that all police departments are required to meet, but that local municipalities can go beyond this. So it's a little shocking to me that you would think that this is all that Highland Park can do to meet the Attorney General's guidelines. Again, the Attorney General himself has said that these are minimum requirements and that local municipalities can go beyond that. Why you haven't is a question that I'm wondering about. My question though for you is about almost a month ago now, there was a police forum held, and because of the overwhelming number of community members that were there and the amount of questions that were asked, there was not enough time to get to all of them. Mayor, your public relations person assured me that I could submit questions to be asked, and those would be answered and posted on the borough website, was my understanding. It's, as I said, it's now been almost a month since that scheduled police forum. So my suggestion would be, because there's been such an overwhelming demand by the community to ask questions of the mayor, the council, and HPPD leadership, that another forum should be held before the scheduled one in September, or those questions should be answered as soon as possible. So I guess my question is twofold. Will you hold another police forum before the regularly scheduled one? And if not,
30 seconds.
When will the public's questions from that police forum of a month ago be answered? Thank you.
I believe we answered those.
Excuse me, I'll touch on that. Dan, I actually had your questions today. I was actually working on them, trying to give you sufficient answers to your questions. There are other questions from other residents that I've been answering as well. I am getting to them. I am working on them, and you will get them.
Okay, that's terrific to hear. Could I ask what the delay was, and where will those be posted?
I've been working on them, and I will touch base with the mayor to find the appropriate avenues of where we should put those answers.
Thank you, Dan. Is there anybody else?
One last, Mayor. It looks, oh, hand came down at the 11th hour there. I see no other hands, Mayor.
Okay, if that's
the hand came back up, Mayor. I don't know if you want to, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm a
we have
tease.
to stop at 9, so.
Okay, should I allow this one?
What time is it?
It's 8:55, we have 5 minutes.
Okay, so yeah.
Person coming up is Donna. Please state your first and last name and address, please. Donna?
Yes.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Yes, okay. So my name is Donna Messer, and I live at 431 Lincoln Avenue in Highland Park. So I have noticed that there has been a great increase in noise pollution in our town. The landscaping companies use huge and very noisy lawnmowers that they ride on instead of smaller, quieter mowers that could do the job just as well. After mowing, they use very noisy leaf blowers where they could use rakes and brooms that would do the job just as well and much more quietly. It has become increasingly noxious, especially when these companies are working on both sides of our house and across the street. It is bad for our hearing and bad for our peace of mind. Could the township develop an ordinance to restrict noise pollution from landscaping machinery, just as they might seek to regulate cars and motorcycles that constantly rev up their motors when they have no mufflers? Is there such a regulation already in place? And if so, could it be better enforced?
Those are good questions, Donna.
Thank you.
What I would suggest is perhaps we can talk with our code enforcement officer and see what his suggestion is and whether or not other towns or municipalities have already introduced ordinances like that. So I'm going to ask Councilman Hale to follow up with our code enforcement officer.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just want to say that this is not my wheel well, but we do have ordinance on the book. But at this time when people are out of work, I don't see where it's fair that you want to take away somebody's livelihood.
Okay.
That would be it, Mayor.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm going to ask if the council members want to take a 5-minute break before we go into our work session items.
Yes.
Yes, please.
All right, so then we'll reconvene at 9:05. Gary, just tell me, I'm not paying attention, so just tell me when the council members are all back, please.
I'm back.
The last one? No, we're still waiting for Stephanie. Yeah, just Stephanie.
Mayor, I told Joe and Jim they could
I figured when I saw
drift
they-
off into the internet ether.
But they don't want to stay for a work session?
Oh, they want to say goodbye.
No. Thank you both.
Invite the torture.
Thank you.
I'm in.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Good night.
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 Night, night. Night,
Oh, we
John.
don't know if Stephanie's still not here.
He was. Oh,
Her background's there.
Yeah, I know.
Phil's not there. Everybody keeps moving around. It's very disconcerting.
Well, that's what was happening to me before, because I was
I'm
going
not sure.
in order.
Everybody's eating. Everybody's like,
Where's move?
I know, it's Taco Tuesday, come on.
Stephanie, you moved, and so I wasn't sure if you gave your report or not.
Oh, yeah.
The boxes moved. What makes them move?
I think it might be when speaking or when people mute themselves, they go down. Like, I'm not really, I've been trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. Are we
Yeah,
all
I know
back?
5.
Wait, Stephanie, are you back here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, let's get into our work session. Thank you for joining us. All right, draft resolution in support of Assembly Bills A 4226 and A 4035.
That's me, right?
Yeah.
So I'd actually like to hold off on this for till our next work session. I just wanted to introduce it right now. And the reason I want to hold off is my understanding is that these bills might be undergoing some changes that we want to watch. But I'll just tell you the central part of them. Under the current COVID-19 guidelines, in terms of foreclosures and in terms of evictions for renters, there's a 90-day window after the state of emergency is lifted, when sort of everything goes back to normal in terms of evictions and foreclosures. What these bills are an attempt to do is to identify and put out a process after the 90 days for lenders and for landlords to follow after that 90-day period. Right now, literally, my understanding is that on day 91, everything's back to normal, right? And so, given the complexity, given the confusion, given the difficulty that everyone is facing, the intent of these bills is to provide more of a roadmap primarily for tenants and primarily for homeowners who might be underwater, but also so that sort of everyone knows what the specific rules of the game are, so that it's not a light switch that happens after COVID. So I wanted to raise it. I thought we would be ready to discuss it in more detail now, but I'd like to, if I could, carry this over to the next work agenda and have a more full discussion about it then.
Okay, and Borough Attorney, are you aware of these bills as well?
Yes, Madam Mayor, and we're kind of monitoring them through the League of Municipalities.
Okay. All right, so if you hear anything from the league, or if I hear anything, we'll share it with Matt.
Certainly will.
Okay. Next, bid threshold increase, TJ.
This one's pretty routine. The state has increased the bid threshold to $44,000. We have a QPA, who's Lori Majeski. Her threshold was 40, and so we would like, under the state statute. So we just need to bring our own policies in alignment with, if you're in agreement with the states at 44,000, just so we're consistent. This will just be done by resolution in an upcoming meeting, and this went through the Finance Committee.
All right, Fire Department Ordinance Amendment, Elsie?
Okay, our fire department has been operating pretty much on their own, and they have not been in compliance with county or state or federal compliance for training, for the different functions that they perform within the department. And so we have people that are in the department or that are in the department that are not in accordance with the rules of law as it governs firehousing, as it governs training for fire officers, roles, duties, and responsibility. What Pat has done is he had wrote the ordinance and look at other towns and see what we should be doing. How do we stay in compliance? How do we bring structure to the department and have it be a fully functional department and have people trained appropriately and to do their jobs? And this is what this ordinance is helping to outline and to detail what roles and responsibilities they should have, and to give access to have the borough have more teeth in the ordinance and how it's constructed, and not use something that they've had for the past 50 years that was written by a former fire chief and put in place. But this is much more in structure with governmental rules and regs, and would be much more under the borough's umbrella, so to speak, to provide proper governance. So when things that we know that have happened in the past, that people weren't in compliance and things that they were doing that were out of sorts, that we have more teeth in the game to help to put things in place.
And I think it's also important for council members to understand that Pat comes to us with many, many years of experience in fire. Terry, you can probably talk to that more than I can. And he's bringing his knowledge and expertise to our volunteer organizations.
If I could just add to, oh, sorry, Elsie.
Academy, at the Fire Academy, and he has 35 years of experience dealing with fires, big on fire and / first aid public safety. Terry, you were going to say something?
Yeah, sorry to jump over you. I wanted to mention 2 points. One, I don't know if the draft ordinance was circulated with the packet. I think it might not have been, and I think that was in the transition from Joan going away because she was going to circulate that. So I'll make sure everybody gets that. But know that the draft you're reviewing has already been reviewed by Ed's office and Ed. So what you're getting, they double check to make sure it comports with all statutes. Ed, you can verify that, but it's already kind of made the next round of vetting. And the way I would characterize a lot of the changes are establishing standards for the various different officers within the organization, as well as, because right now council confirms all officers, but there's no real articulated standard for what qualifies you to be a fire chief, I don't know, lieutenant, whatever the interim, I don't have the paper in front of me. And so I just want to give you the flavor for what this does. And as Elsie said, it's just something that hasn't been revisited in a very long time. And this probably was a standard ordinance back in the day, but it's no longer kind of best practice from what we're understanding. Ed, I don't know if you had any other things to throw in.
No, you're correct. Our current ordinance is well out of date, and Pat's done a nice job putting it together. We've been working with him over the last several weeks to codify it, and I think it's ready to go. So if Terry could circulate that to you, I think it might be ready for introduction next month.
Right.
I apologize that you guys didn't get it early. I thought it went out with the package. So
I thought it did too, Elsie. It wasn't until before the meeting that I realized it. And but the Public Safety Committee has gotten it, just to be clear.
Forward with it. The Public Service Committee is in agreement with what's put forth. So you'll have an opportunity to review. We'd like to see it after review. If you have any questions, please bring them up, but we'd like to see it go on to the next agenda.
Okay. All right. Elsie, you're still on. I don't know if there's more you want to add since you already spoke about him.
It's pretty much the same thing. Pat is now our new director, has been our director of emergency services. And we just said that he comes with 35 years of experience. He teaches at the Fire Academy. He's at the county. He's in many towns. He's retired from Woodbridge. And he comes with a wealth of knowledge of how these departments, emergency function departments, operates, not just fire, but first aid and all the other offices. And we rely on him now heavily because he has the knowledge, he has the expertise, and he has tons of ordinances that has been passed in other towns that will keep us in compliance where we have been woefully out of compliance, bring us into the 21st century, so to speak, and to get our borough emergency service operating and functioning as it should, and putting more teeth that we do rather than the way it has been done, kind of haphazardly, and the volunteer makes their rules and having standards that we'll have to follow and go by.
The one thing I would, if you don't mind if I add, because I can't help myself, I've been looking at this for too long. The ordinance for the fire department that you just discussed references this position of emergency services director. And Ed, it was based on your advice a while back that we should amend our ordinance for our governance to add that position, just like my position's established, the police chief's position. There's certain positions within the borough that are in the code. I'm not quite clear on what meets that threshold, but in this case, especially because we're using that position as a key point of contact for various different departments. And we have kind of all the roles and responsibilities already outlined, but the next step would be to put that into our code. And so that's what I do not have a draft of that yet, so it may not be ready for the next meeting, but that's what that refers to.
So I see deer feeding ordinance is on with Terry's initials, but I know it came originally from Elsie.
I don't know why it had my initials, so enjoy, it's all you.
In other words, don't feed the deer. We're putting out an ordinance. I have witnessed on many occasions where I'm doing my morning walk, and at 5:30 o'clock in the morning, there's people in one particular environmental center. There's a woman that stands there and she hand feeds the deer. And they come right up to her and they eat from her hand and she's feeding them. And then in the meadow trails and on the bike path, people are leaving watermelon, carrots, all kinds of vegetables for the deers to eat. So we need to put something in place to do not feed the deer. They're a wild animal. You can't make them domesticated. We have all kinds of issues, as we all know. They show up on our front step and they don't move. And so with people feeding them, they're not going to go anywhere, and there's health implications such as Lyme disease and ticks and fever mice that they carry on their bodies. So we really want to encourage people to stop feeding the deer and have something where we have some teeth into it, because we have some books and say, don't feed the deer, so we can possibly council people not necessarily go out and create fines, but to say, please don't feed them and have some enforcement behind it. This is what we're proposing with this ordinance, to stop feeding all the deer in Highland Park. Shouldn't be feeding wild animals anyway. And we have a huge deer problem.
So Ed, I believe this ordinance was based on an ordinance from another municipality.
Yeah, we did one of these probably 12 years ago in Princeton, and it's a relatively simple ordinance. It just says don't feed the deer. They found when Princeton, which has been working on deer management for a long time, was being defeated in this respect when residents were putting out corn and other things to attract and domesticate the deer and bring them into the residential neighborhoods. So it's a simple ordinance that just simply says, don't feed the deer. And we could transport that into your code.
Okay.
That's exactly what we want to do with this.
And that was something Fish and Wildlife did mention in their presentation as kind of a low-hanging thing we should pursue regardless of the larger question.
Yeah.
Stephanie, you had a question?
Yes. So this would fall into, I guess, like you could get a fine or summons for it as well. Or
Yes, Stephanie. If somebody was caught feeding the deer, they would get a ticket basically, and to our municipal court, and then there would be a fine. First time, I don't know, maybe $50, $100. But if somebody was a repeated violator, it might work its up the chain to be more substantial. But that's what it would be, a local ordinance violation.
okay, so are we going to put signs? Safety signs? Are we going to put signs up?
We did talk about doing that in the borough properties, but we're talking about on private property also, right, Ed?
Yes, it would be anywhere. In other words, Stephanie, it's unlike the signage we put going into a park, which says don't litter, don't do this, don't do that, and so on. We would certainly broadcast and advertise and let people know. And clearly you're continuing to work on the deer population issue. So that would be something that would be shared at the various forums. But there wouldn't be a special sign because it's applicable throughout the borough in both public and private properties.
Okay. But so in the borough, you're saying on borough properties, Terry?
We talked about it. We didn't make a decision, but since Elsie spotted a lot of this activity
I'm the one
in borough property, we thought, well, we have signage there. We could put it up.
You'll see people out in the environmental center, and they bring they're pulling their shopping cart, and they just stand there and they feed the deer. So any morning you're going by the environmental center, if you happen to be up that early, you'll see people out there with their carts and they're hand feeding the deer.
Well, that's our property, correct?
No, in the environmental center, our environmental center on River Road.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we could.
You see people out there hand feeding the deer and not be feeding the deer. And they're in the meadows and they're feeding the deer, or they're in the bike path and they're leaving all this stuff for the deer to eat. And so the population keeps growing.
Yeah, but we, similar to, curb after, pick up after your dog type signs. And like, that's what I'm thinking. If the sign isn't there, police officer walks up to me, I don't know the sign. I don't know.
I understand what you're saying. That's why I preface it by saying there could be a warning. So if I saw you feeding the deer and I come up to you as an officer, say, you're not supposed to be doing this. This is a warning.
Okay.
And you get a warning. So you were warned not to feed the deer. Next day I go out there, you're doing it. Now you're in violation because, we started off with a gentle, soft warning, and you decided this is your thing and that's what you want to do. And it's creating havoc in the town. So we got to put something that has teeth in it.
So what we're talking about, Elsie, is putting signs up on the Meadows Trail, down by the environmental center, and any of the properties that we own. I think you need to put signs up wherever you can.
Those places are easy because they're entry spots.
Right.
Here is it's not. When people are feeding the deer and, you know, they decide that they want to go out there and do whatever they want to do.
Right.
You know, the one apartment right by the bridge, sometimes she's right in front of her apartment. That's private property and she's feeding the deer. She needs to cut it out. She needs to stop feeding the deer. You see her going to take her car to Stop and Shop and she's buying all this stuff in Stop and Shop. And next morning she's out there feeding the deer. And that's contributing to the population growth.
Will it be in the ordinance that, you know, it would say warning? Would it have like tiers of offenses or?
Look at that. That's not saying, that's not outside of the realm where we can say, you know, your first offense, the first time the officer see you feeding the deer, he's going to slam a ticket on you. We could look at it, we can have a warning, and then after your first violation, then it would progress to a ticket situation.
Okay.
And we'll put that in the draft ordinance stuff.
Okay. Yeah, am I feeding? I know that's.
I know. It's like,
No.
I would say you now know you shouldn't, right?
Any other questions?
Okay. Goals. Let's, I'm going to go in order of my squares here again. So I'm going to start with you, Matt Hale.
You know, again, I sound like a broken record, but we are working as hard as we can to keep the businesses that we have alive, and that's really the focus right now. And those goals of reaching out beyond that are struggling. So I don't have any report.
Well, you're doing a good job with those town tables. I think it's helped the restaurants quite a bit.
Thank you.
Okay, Josh Fine, goals.
I do not have a report tonight.
Okay. Councilwoman Kim Chohan, goals.
Yeah, I don't have a report either. I'm sorry. I mean, I think maybe with these goals, like halfway through the year, we should evaluate. Yeah, because I'm holding my eyes from halfway. I think maybe halfway through the year we can like look at our goal, revisit the goals again. I don't know if that's too late.
You okay with that?
No, because she can say for her committee, but some other committees are huge.
Right.
But some people are going on for years.
Yeah. So I'm turning to the council president because he works with me on the goals and stuff. So, you know, I'm turning to you, council president. What's your point of view on looking at the goals every 6 months?
I don't know necessarily that we need to look at goals every 6 months. There are some ongoing, some short-term. For instance, I set the goal of getting the water and sewer contract with the outside contractor implemented. We met that goal quite a while ago, but the implementation of that is ongoing. We now have the New Jersey Middlesex Water people that are assigned to us full-time are here. We're orienting with them. That's moving forward. Terry's working very hard with that. Their trucks are around town. They're stationed here now. We've transitioned our water and sewer appropriately without having to let anyone go. So that's an ongoing, you know, and on the other hand, some projects are ongoing. What I think is what we should do is circulate around to all council the list of goals and say, do you want to recalculate? Do you want to look at it again? We have not had a normal year.
Yes.
I think everybody knows that.
That's right.
So that some goals were just totally impossible to meet. But I think what I'd like to do is with council permission, let me circulate around and see, do you want to recalculate? Do you want to stay with this? Do you want to refocus? I also need to speak to our Councilwoman Canavera about what we're talking about and how it's working, and also orientation to some of our business, and get her to set some goals, and once we discuss what that is. So I'd like to do those two processes. For my report, I just said water sewer is ongoing, it's major, it's expensive. The stuff that's under the streets, I think, quite frankly, to me, is at least as important as the stuff that goes on above the street in redevelopment and economic growth. We also have started to talk in Public Works a little bit about sidewalks, which is my other project for the year, to talk about that and have that rolled out. I do have stage 3 of the SOP done, of the 5 stages that I hope to have in place in December to adopt a plan for 2021, excuse me. So those are my goals, and I think we should recalibrate. I don't know that we need to change or anything, but it's not been a normal year. Some goals have been impossible. Others have moved forward. Let's recalibrate.
So one of my goals, like, we had passed anti-Semitism resolution. That was in February. So I feel like, hey, that I checked this off. So that's why I was saying review halfway through the year.
Well, so you see, part of the problem that we have here is when we had face-to-face meetings, we had the goals hanging up on the walls. So we were able to look at it and go through and say, just as you said right now, I passed the anti-Semitism goal, and now I'm working on whatever your other goal is.
Mm-hmm.
To Phil's point, sitting around Zoom makes it very difficult for us to really focus on what we've achieved and what we haven't. So I think Phil's idea of recirculating the goals so that this was the other thing. We had the actual hard copy of the goals in our packets in our face-to-face meetings, so that we were able to, instead of it being on the wall, we were able to look at them and address them. Now we don't have them in our packets every week. We should, I think, really take a look at, and if you could recirculate them, Phil, I think that would be a good idea.
I'll do that before the next meeting. If we want to revisit the discussion at the next regular meeting on August 18th, we can do that. I think it's important for all council to read, without talking about the individual goals. Just we need to look at whether the emergency in the past and the emergency that's going to continue affect those in some way. And like I said, just recalibrate, not necessarily change or adopt a new goal because you can't do your other one. Let's recalibrate and talk about it.
Okay. Elsie, do you have anything you want to talk about on yours?
Not really, because everyone's home, so we really can't go out and really paint these lines that we wanted to just put the proper setbacks in place. Because parking is at a minimum right now. And so we can't do our lines like we wanted to in most areas. So that's part of my goal.
But you have accomplished quite a bit of them all over town.
I was going to say that according to Facebook, Elsie, you've done a good job because
there's a lot of complaints.
Just so you know, your lines are being painted.
Definitely, you can definitely see the lines, but some of the setbacks that we wanted to keep in compliance with state guidelines, they're not being done the way we wanted them to. But a lot of the paintings and the setback is
they're doing it, Elsie, and the neighbors are not happy.
They are doing it. They are doing it. I've heard from 2 residents out of all the corners all over town that had a problem with it.
No, and there was a lot of favorable, I will say, although there was some complaining, the Facebook banter was actually, I would say, favorable overall because of the clear dangerousness of some of those corners. That most of us have had to hold our breath and go for it enough times.
Good work on that goal, Elsie.
I mean, I think there's still more to do, but
there's a lot more to do.
Yeah. Okay, so Tara, just so you know, once a year, the council meets and we go over goals based on our 5 areas of attention, that being tax stabilization, downtown development, quality of life, infrastructure, and transparency.
Okay.
So that's what they're talking about.
I have more work to do on other things, but I think that's it for now.
Okay, great. Okay, so I guess that's it for our agenda. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Can I just ask one quick question?
Sure.
When I
Very
was
quick.
okay. Somebody told me that there's a class you can take at Rutgers on municipal finance.
I'm going to get you all the information, not only municipal finance, but you know, how to be a good council person.
Okay.
So you can take it at Rutgers or you can take it at the league down in Trenton, but Rutgers is right here and it's the same course. And in fact, our borough council counselor, his firm has a lot to do with the training session. You will also be getting from us a package that the borough attorney put together on ethics and communications as a council person. And then usually the borough clerk will sit down and give you a book with all the rules and regulations that you need to be aware of.
Okay, thank you.
It's all coming.
Did you guys tell her that Josh is like her mentor?
Josh told me.
I reached out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Good night, gentle folks.
Can we do the motion thing for real this time?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Be safe.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.